Hello, dear students. You are all welcome to our first basic class of computer science. Our chapter number 1, Computer System and Organization. We are going to learn about the basic computer organization, the description of a computer system and a mobile system. Let us first understand what a computer system is. Now, a computer system is an electronic device that can be programmed to accept data, which is called input, process it, and generate result called output. A computer along with additional hardware and software together is called a computer system. So we all know a computer, whether it is a desktop, whether it is a laptop. It is an electronic device, okay, and it accepts the data that we put in, that is something like when we are typing, and it generates a result which we call an output. Now when we have computer hardwares and softwares also, hardware such as the mouse, the keyboard, and software such as all the softwares, the applications that are inside your computer system, all together we combine them and it is called a computer system. A computer system is made up of 4 main parts. We have the CPU, which is the central processing unit, the memory, the input-output devices, and the storage devices. Now let's look at each. The CPU, Central Processing Unit. This is also called the brain of the system. It handles all the ALU, which is the arithmetic and logical operations, and the CU, which is the control unit. It executes the commands and instructions. Now, the CPU has 2 parts, the ALU and the CU. ALU, arithmetic and logical operations, CU, the control unit. Now the CPU executes the commands and instructions. Executes means order, okay, when something takes place. And commands and instructions are what we ask the computer to do. If I am given the command of print, it is an instruction to the computer that print my document, okay. So the CPU handles such instructions. Now the second part we have is the memory, and these are of 2 types, the RAM, random access memory, and the ROM, read-only memory. We shall study these in detail. The third part is the I/O devices, that is the input-output devices. Now, through which the data is shared. Without these devices, we cannot take, that is, we cannot put data input or take output from the computer. Now, input devices such as the keyboard, which we use for typing, the mouse, the scanner, light pen, and output devices such as the monitor, printer, speakers, projector, and headphone. Now, if you observe, both of them are completely different. If a keyboard is pressed, the alphabet keys you press or the number keys, they show in the screen of your computer, isn't it? They do not show you outside but rather inside. So you are sending data inside the computer. That is why it is called input. And then output, look at a monitor. The monitor has a screen, okay? It is displaying data to you. It is giving out data that look at it. That is why it is output. Look at a printer. When you give the command of print, a paper comes out of your printer with data on it. So it is giving out. That is why it is an output device. The fourth part, that's the storage device. Now you see, we have to store our data, all our content in something. If we have a mobile phone, we have the internal memory and then we have the memory chips or the memory cards that you install or that you put into this phone to save your data, to store your data. The same thing in a computer system, we have the hard disk which is inside the CPU. Then we have CDs and DVDs. Earlier on, CDs were used to store data. You have often seen there were movies of DVD, there were musics, okay, audio musics were stored on CD. Then we have USB flash drives and These are called the external storage devices. Hard disk is inside the CPU. It's an internal storage device. USB flash drives, what we call pen drives, are external storage devices. Now let us look at the evolution of computer. How did it all begin? Now the first one, an abacus. This was designed for simple calculations. It consists of thin woods tied to a frame with seeds or beads in the woods used for counting. I'm sure you have all seen it. Okay, it is often used for counting. There were seeds, stones or beads inside thin woods. The second evolution came up with the Pascaline, because we had a scientist, Blaise Pascal, who invented the mechanical calculator known as the Pascal calculator. Okay, it showed addition and subtraction of two numbers directly and multiplication and division through repeated addition and subtraction. So it was the first mechanical calculator and it was invented by Blaise Pascal in 1642. Then in 1834 we had the analytic engine. Now Charles Babbage is the father of computers. He invented an analytical engine, a mechanical computing device for inputting, processing, storing and displaying the output, which is considered to form the basis of modern computers. So as I said, Charles Babbage is the father of computers. This is because the first mechanical computing device, which had the task of input, then processing, then storing and displaying the output. You see, these are the main basics that we do. We put in data into the computer system, we process it, that is we work on it, we edit it, we beautify it, we store it in our computer system and then we show the output. Okay, so these were shown in an analytical engine in 1834. In 1890, Hermann Hollerith designed a tabulating machine for summarizing the data stored on the punched card. It is a step towards programming. Now you see, we had an analytical engine. Now we have also entered computer programming. We make use of punch cards in it. Data was summarized on the punch card. I will show you how a punch card looks like. In 1937, the Turing machine was invented. It was a general purpose programmable machine that was capable of solving any problem by executing the program stored on the punch cards. Now the tabulating machine that invented the punch card was used in the Turing machines. In 1945, the ENIAC. Okay, we had the scientist John von Neumann who introduced the concept of stored program computer, which was capable of storing data as well as program in the memory. Okay, so you see, with technology, with development, with time, gradually we started with a simple abacus, then a calculator, then an analytical engine, then a tabulating machine, a Turing machine, and we were trying to store data. Now in 1945, even the program was stored in the memory. In 1947, vacuum tubes were replaced by transistors developed at Bell Labs using semiconductor materials. And in 1970, the IC, called an integrated circuit, which is a silicon chip, it contains entirely electronic circuit on a very small area. The size of computer drastically reduced because of ICs. Now you have seen memory cards, they are so tiny, isn't it? But in the earlier days, even a simple 1.5 MB was stored on a very large device. We could not even talk about GBs or TBs the way we have 1000 GB, 4000 GB, 1 TB, 2 TB. Okay, in the earlier days, to store data of only 100 MB was done on a very large device. But in 1970, when ICs were designed, the size of the computer reduced. Okay, because these are electronic chips, they can easily store data. They were very tiny. And presently, in the present generation, what the IC was in 1970 has become less and very little than that time. You will be shown all these practically as well as in details. So this was a basic introduction to computer system and organization.